I'm going to have to go ahead. Transmit power. The maximum amateur legal power output is 1,500 watts peak effective power, unless otherwise specified. Now, our old 30 and 60 meter bands, once again, are different. And on 30 meters, we're allowed 200 watts peak effective power. On 60 meters, we're limited to 100 watts effective radiated power reference to a half-wave dipole. So if you're using anything other than a dipole, you have to document the information about your antenna. And that's kind of a general thing. You should only use the minimum power necessary for communications. So you don't necessarily need to run 1,500 watts, particularly if you're talking to somebody
across
the street, or the next state, unless conditions are really, really bad. What is the limit for transmit power on the 28 megahertz band for a general class control operator?
That should be Charlie.
Should be Charlie, because it's not 30 or 60. What is it for transmit power on the 1.8 megahertz band?
Delta.
Delta it is. See, that's what, 160 meters, right?
Yeah, 160 meters. Yes.
What is the maximum transmit power an amateur station may use on the 12 meter band? One more time, 1,500 watts. What is the maximum transmitting power an amateur station may use on the 10.14 megahertz? What band is that?
230.
And what do we know about 30?
It's data only. 200 watts.
200 watts.
What measurement is specified by FCC rules that regulate maximum power?
Either C or D, I don't know.
Delta.
Think about it. Input to the antenna or output from the transmitter?
Output from the transmitter would be the easiest to know.
Yeah. And it's output from the transmitter. In most cases, it's probably the same, because although it depends on whether you're where you're measuring the input to the antenna. If you measure it at the antenna at the end of the feed line, you've got less power there.
Yeah.
60 meters. The maximum effective radiated power is 100 watts with respect to the dipole. Should say half-wave dipole. If you use anything else, you've got to keep a record of it, of the gain of the antenna you're using. And you must operate upper sideband if you're doing phone. You're limited to 2.8 kilohertz bandwidth, somewhere in that 5 kilohertz range. So there really is only enough room to maybe do 2 sideband signals in that band, right?
Yeah, but you're supposed to transmit from one point in it. I think for the center of your spectrum to be at the center. I think that's,
But on single sideband,
your spectrum is 2.8. Right, so you'd be 1.4 below the center.
well, if everybody does that, then it's only a single user at a time.
Per channel, yes.
Oh,
You got 5 channels.
yeah. It sucks.
I've never.
Who uses it?
I've only heard one person on that band, so it's really
Okay.
not overused.
What's the maximum power limit on the 60-meter band?
Charlie.
Charlie.
I don't remember any of these.
Yeah. I need to change. Well, they're saying PEP, but it's really ERP. Which of the following is required by the FCC rules when operating in the 60-meter band?
Alpha.
Alpha. Another reason why you shouldn't use 60 meters. Your secondary, you can't interfere with somebody. You got all these conditions and nobody's there. Okay. So there's 5 channels, 5 megahertz wide. You got to ensure that you're not occupying more than 2.8 kilohertz using upper sideband. And normally 60 meters is below 10 megahertz. So the normal protocol would be lower sideband. So that's another exception.
That's true.
What is the maximum bandwidth permitted by FCC rules for amateur radio stations transmitting on upper sideband frequencies in the 60-meter band? Amanda?
I was gonna say alpha or delta.
Alpha.
I'll say Amanda.
Yeah, normally they would allow 3 kilohertz, but they're very, very specific in this band of 2.8.
Okay.
That keeps all the women off of it because their voice is too high in frequency.
Well, they have higher modulation, stronger signal. Digital modes, data rates, data rate rules, I should say. On HF, the maximum symbol rate for radio teletype or data transmissions, modes like FT8 and JS8 call, things like that, is 300 baud below 10 meters. From 10 meters to 2 meters, you get to go up to 1200 baud. At the 2-meter band, you can use 19.6, and above 2 meters, you can go up to 56 kilobaud. So what is the maximum symbol rate permitted for radio teletype or data below 28 megahertz? So 28 megahertz would be the 10-meter band.
Charlie. Oh,
So below 10 meters is 300.
below. My bad.
And I think I'm going the wrong way. backed up way too far, I think.
Where were you?
I got deja vu. I've seen these before.
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure how far I backed up.
Too far.
Obviously too far. Maybe we were at the end. That's where I went back to.
Okay, keep going.
Okay. All right. What's the maximum symbol rate for radio teletype data on the 10-meter band?
Charlie?
Right. Before it was below, because that frequency they called out, I think, was below the bottom end of the 10-meter band, or at the bottom end. And that's the end of that one.